The reflection in still water. I never wanted the lake house. It came as part of my grandfather's will, a crumbling two-story place by Stillwater Lake, tucked in the middle of nowhere. Everyone in my family avoided it, and I used to think it was because of its distance from civilization. I was wrong. The house looked like it hadn't been lived in for decades. Moss covered the stone steps. Windows were cracked and smeared with what looked like fingerprints. But on the outside, high up near the second floor, I chalked it up to birds or weather. The inside was worse. Dust hung in the air like fog, thick enough to taste. Most of the furniture was draped in old sheets. One thing wasn't: a large mirror above the fireplace in the living room. The glass was pristine, like someone had been cleaning it regularly. The carved frame was warped with age, and beneath the grime was a tiny inscription: "The lake sees all." The first night I couldn't sleep, not because of the creaks or the wind howling through cracks, but because I kept hearing something move downstairs. Slow, dragging footsteps. I told myself it was the old wood settling, but my gut didn't agree. At 2:17 a.m., I heard a splash. Not gentle ripples, a splash, like something heavy breaking the surface of still water. I looked out the upstairs window. The lake was dark and motionless. Too dark, actually. There wasn't a single reflection. Not of the moon. Not of the house, not of me. The next day, I found water on the floor near the front door. It formed a perfect trail from the porch to the living room, leading right to that mirror. Later that night, I stood in front of the mirror with a flashlight. That's when I saw it. My reflection didn't move with me. When I tilted my head, it stared straight ahead. When I blinked, it didn't. I stepped back and it smiled. I smashed the mirror with the flashlight. Glass rained down and I expected relief. But behind the shards was the lake. Not a wall, not a broken frame. A perfect moonlit view of Stillwater Lake, as if the mirror was a window into somewhere else. Then something crawled out of it, pale, dripping, human-like but wrong. Its limbs bent the wrong way. Its eyes were glassy and hollow. It pulled itself into the room and whispered, in a voice that sounded like mine, "You look too long." I ran. I don't even remember grabbing my keys or unlocking the door. I drove until the trees turned to highway. The house still sits there, and sometimes I dream of it, of the lake, the reflection, and the thing that watched me from behind the glass. And every mirror I pass since. Sometimes I'm not the only one in the reflection. The reflection in Stillwater. I never wanted to go back to the lake house. It was my family's vacation home, perched on the edge of Stillwater Lake, a place that always felt too quiet, like the silence wasn't natural but imposed. After my parents passed, it sat untouched for years. But last month I inherited it. Against my better judgment, I drove up with the intention of selling it. The air smelled the same, pine and water and something faintly metallic. The house hadn't changed. Wooden shutters, chipped blue paint, a dock stretching into the still glassy water. It was exactly as I remembered. Too much so. Inside, dust lay thick across every surface. Yet the mirror in the upstairs hallway was spotless. That mirror always gave me a strange feeling. When I was a kid, I swore I'd see things in it that weren't there. Shadows, movement. Once, I thought I saw someone standing behind me, even though I was alone. That first night, I barely slept. The wind off the lake rattled the windows, but it was something else that kept me up. A sound like soft footsteps pacing on the wooden dock. Over and over, I kept telling myself it was the house settling. The wind. Maybe a deer. But just before dawn, I crept to the window and looked out. There was someone on the dock. A pale figure standing motionless at the end. I couldn't see their face, just long, tangled hair swaying in the wind. I stared, heart hammering, but when I blinked, they were gone. I tried to leave that morning. Packed my things, locked the doors, and threw my bag in the car. But the engine wouldn't start. I checked everything. Fuel, battery, even walked down the road to see if I could get reception. Nothing worked. It was like something wanted me to stay. That night I heard water dripping in the house. There's no plumbing upstairs, but the dripping was coming from the hallway. I followed the sound with a flashlight, and when I reached the mirror, I stopped cold. The reflection was wrong. It showed the hallway, yes, but not as it was. In the reflection, the walls were rotting. Black water seeped from the ceiling, and behind my reflection stood the figure from the dock. I spun around, nothing, but in the mirror she was there. Closer now, her face pale and bloated, her eyes pitch black. Her mouth opened wide as if she was screaming, but no sound came out. The glass cracked. I ran, down the stairs, out the door, barefoot into the woods. I didn't care where I went, just away. I didn't stop until I tripped over a root and slammed into the earth. When I looked up, I was back at the dock. The house loomed behind me, and there she was again, standing in the lake this time, waist deep in the black water, her arms slowly rising. I screamed, but it felt swallowed by the trees. I don't remember how I got inside or when I started writing this. The lights keep flickering. I can hear her dripping somewhere in the house. She's not in the mirror anymore. She's closer. If someone finds this, don't go to Stillwater Lake. She doesn't want the house. She wants me. And she's almost here. Whispers on Black Hollow Lake. I should have never come back. After the divorce, I wanted silence, a place to think, maybe even disappear for a while. That's what led me back to my grandfather's old lake house, a crumbling cabin on the edge of Black Hollow Lake, where I hadn't been since I was a kid. He drowned there in '97. They said it was an accident. I never believed them. The cabin looked abandoned, like it had been waiting for me. Same warped deck, same broken wind chimes. The key was still under the stone frog by the front steps, just like he used to keep it. Inside, dust blanketed everything. But the air, it didn't smell stale. It smelled wet, like something had been living there. The first night, I couldn't sleep. The lake was too quiet. It didn't ripple, didn't move, like glass. But just after midnight, I heard something outside. Footsteps, wet ones, slapping against the deck. I held my breath and listened. The sound stopped right outside the window. When I worked up the courage to peek through the curtain, there was no one there. But the footprints were, bare, muddy, and leading straight from the lake. The next day, I found my grandfather's old journal tucked under the floorboards. It wasn't the kind of thing you'd expect from a fisherman. He wrote about voices at night, whispers coming from the water. He said something in the lake knew his name, said it visited him in dreams, promising him things. Terrible things. The last entry chilled me. I see her in the water now. every night, closer. I don't think she wants me to leave. I didn't want to believe any of it, until that night. I was brushing my teeth when the bathroom mirror fogged up, despite no hot water. 4 words appeared in the condensation, like something had dragged a finger across it. I remember your face. I stared, frozen. Then I heard it again, the slapping of wet feet, this time inside the house. I locked myself in the bedroom. All night something dragged itself down the hall, slow, heavy breathing. I pressed my ear to the door and heard water dripping on the wood. When I finally opened it at sunrise, the hallway was soaked. A trail of wet footprints led back out the front door. That was 3 days ago. Now, she comes every night. I don't sleep anymore. I see her face in every reflection, pale, bloated, eyes open too wide. And when I look away, I hear my name whispered from the lake. She's not just part of the lake. She is the lake. And tonight I can hear her under the floorboards, whispering, waiting. If you ever find this, don't go near Black Hollow. And for the love of God, don't look into the water.